Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Looking at Bhagavad-gita 11, Bhagavad-gita as it is 11:5 through 11:15. And we can read these together. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Pasya me Parta Rupani Shatashota Sahasrashaha Nana Vidhani Divyani Nana Varna Kritini Cha. Translation. The Blessed Lord said, my dear Arjuna, O son of Pritha, behold now my opulences, hundreds of thousands of varied divine forms, multicolored like the sea. Text 6. Pasyadityan vasun rudran ashvina marutas tata bahun yadrishta purvani pasyascharyan bharata. Translation. O best of the Bharatas, see here the different manifestations of Adityas, Rudras, and all the demigods. Behold the many things which no one has ever seen or heard before. Text 7. Yai kastam jagat krishnam pasyadya sacharacharam mama dehe gudakesha yachchanya drashtum ikshasi. Translation. Whatever you wish to see can be seen all at once in this body. This universal form can show you all that you now desire, as well as whatever you may desire in the future. Everything is here completely. Text 8. Natumam shakyase drashtum aninaiva svachakshusha divyam dadamite chakshu pasyame yogamaishwaram. Translation. But you cannot see me with your present eyes. Therefore I give to you divine eyes by which you can behold my mystic opulence. Text 9. Sanjaya Vacha Evam Uktva Tato Rajan Mahayogeshwaro Hari Darshayam Asapartaya Paramam Rupam Ashwaram. Translation. Sanjaya said, O king, speaking thus, the Supreme, the Lord of all mystic power, the personality of Godhead, displayed his universal form to Arjuna. Text 10 through 11. Anekavadvanayanam anekabhuta darshanam aneka divya bharanam divya nekodhyayudam divya malyambaradaram divya ganhanulepanam sarvasharyamam devam anantam vishvato mukham. Translation. Arjuna saw in that universal form unlimited mouths and unlimited eyes. It was all wondrous. The form was decorated with divine, dazzling ornaments and arrayed in many garbs. He was garlanded gloriously, and there were many scents smeared over his body. All was magnificent, all expanding, unlimited. This was seen by Arjuna. Text 12. Divi Surya Sahasrasya Bhaved Yuga Pad Uttita Yadi Basasyad Basastasya Mahatmanaha. Translation. If hundreds of thousands of suns rose up at once into the sky, they might resemble the effulgence of the Supreme Person in that universal form. Text 13. Tatra Ksastam Jagat Krishnam Ravi Bhaktam Anekada Apasha Deva Deva Sha Sharire Pandavastada. Translation. At that time, Arjuna could see in the universal form of the Lord the unlimited expansions of the universe situated in one place, although divided into many, many thousands. Text 14. Tata sa vismaya vishto prishta roma dhananjaya pranamya shirasa devam kritanjalir avashata. Translation. Then, bewildered and astonished, his hair standing on end, Arjuna began to pray with folded hands, offering obeisances to the Supreme Lord. Text 15. Arjuna uvacha pashyami devam stavam sarvam tata bhuta vishesha sangan Ramanam isham kamalasana stam rishim cha sarvan urgam stradivyan. Translation. Arjuna said, "My dear Lord Krishna, I see assembled together in your body all the demigods and various other living entities. I see Brahma sitting on the lotus flower, as well as Lord Shiva and many sages and divine serpents." Back to text 5. I'll read the translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. The Blessed Lord said, "My dear Arjuna, O son of Prita, behold now my opulences, hundreds of thousands of varied divine forms, multicolored like the sea." Purport. Arjuna wanted to see Krishna in his universal form, which, although a transcendental form, is just manifested for the cosmic manifestation, and is therefore subject to the temporary time of this material nature. As the material nature is manifested and not manifested, similarly, this universal form of Krishna is manifested and unmanifested. It is not eternally situated in the spiritual sky like Krishna's other forms. As far as the devotee is concerned, he's not eager to see the universal form, but because Arjuna wanted to see Krishna in this way, Krishna reveals this form. This universal form is not possible to be seen by any ordinary man. Krishna must give one the power to see it. Right. So devotees are not so interested in seeing the universal form, but if anyone claims to be God, they must show a universal form, and Krishna gives that definition here in these verses, that if one claims to be God, they should be able to show the universal form, which is not eternally situated in the spiritual sky like Krishna's other forms. Just like material nature, Prabhupada says, this form is manifested and not manifested. Text 6, translation. O best of the Bharatas, see here the different manifestations of Adityas, Rudras, and all the demigods. Behold the many things which no one has ever seen or heard before. Purport. Even though Arjuna was a personal friend of Krishna and the most advanced of learned men, it was still not possible for him to know everything about Krishna. Here it is stated that humans have neither heard nor known of all these forms and manifestations. Now Krishna reveals these wonderful forms. It's not possible for Arjuna to know everything about Krishna, nor is it possible for any creature to really know everything about Krishna. And in the same way that he gives eyes to Arjuna to see this form, Also, only the pure devotee can really see Krishna in his two-armed form, the highest form. And text 7, translation, whatever you wish to see can be seen all at once in this body. This universal form can show you all that you now desire, as well as whatever you may desire in the future. Everything is here completely. Purport. No one can see the entire universe sitting in one place. Even the most advanced scientist cannot see what is going on in other parts of the universe. Krishna gives him the power to see anything he wants to see, past, present, and future. Thus, by the mercy of Krishna, Arjuna is able to see everything. So Krishna can give divine eyes, and if Krishna wants you to see something, he can give you the eyes to see it. And here it's said that Krishna uses the word pashya, see. He's used it 4 times in the last 3 verses. He is emphasizing that Arjuna should see this wonderful universal form never before seen, though once he showed an aspect of it to Duryodhana. In an attempt to avoid the battle of Kurukshetra, Maharaj Yudhisthira sent Krishna to Duryodhana as a messenger of peace. Duryodhana and Karna's response, however, was foolish. To express disdain for the Pandavas' strength, they plotted to bind Krishna with ropes and throw him into prison. Only a great devotee such as Yashoda Devi, however, can evoke submission from the unlimitedly powerful Lord and bind him. Binding Krishna was impossible for Duryodhana because he was envious and devoid of bhakti. Duryodhana and Karna's attempt only caused Krishna to laugh and say, "You cannot bind me, I exist everywhere." At that time, Krishna showed part of his universal form to Duryodhana, who became frightened but remained unsubmissive. Duryodhana continued minimizing Krishna despite his show of power by saying, "Oh, Krishna simply has mystic powers." The universal form shown to Duryodhana was not the same as the universal form Krishna will now show Arjuna. Srila Prabhupada explains the significance of the word ekashtam in his purport to text 7. Arjuna will be able to see the whole universe, including all space and time, past, present, and future, ekashtam, while sitting in one place. So Krishna also reveals himself as time here, and the great destroyer of worlds, and even the atheists have to succumb to time. So Shri Gaurnitai Ki Jai. Text 8. But you cannot see me with your present eyes. Therefore, I give to you divine eyes by which you can behold my mystic opulence. Purport. A pure devotee does not like to see Krishna in any form except his form with 2 hands. A devotee must see his universal form by his grace, not with the mind, but with spiritual eyes. To see the universal form of Krishna, Arjuna is told not to change his mind, but his vision. The universal form of Krishna is not very important. That will be clear in the verses. Yet because Arjuna wanted to see it, the Lord gives him the particular vision required to see that universal form. Devotees who are correctly situated in a transcendental relationship with Krishna are attracted by loving features, not by a godless display of opulences. The playmates of Krishna, the friends of Krishna, and the parents of Krishna never want Krishna to show his opulences. They are so immersed in pure love that they do not even know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In their loving exchange, they forget that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that the boys who play with Krishna are all highly pious souls, and after many, many births, they are able to play with Krishna. Such boys do not know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They take him as a personal friend. The Supreme Person is considered as the impersonal Brahman by great sages, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead by the devotees, and as a product of this material nature by ordinary men. The fact is that the devotee is not concerned to see the Vishva Rupa, the universal form, but Arjuna wanted to see it to substantiate Krishna's statement so that in the future, people could understand that Krishna not only theoretically or philosophically presented himself as the supreme, but actually presented himself as such to Arjuna. Arjuna must confirm this because Arjuna is the beginning of the parampara system. Those who are actually interested to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and who follow in the footsteps of Arjuna should understand that Krishna not only theoretically presented himself as the Supreme, but actually revealed himself as the Supreme. The Lord gave Arjuna the necessary power to see his universal form because he knew that Arjuna did not particularly want to see it, as we have already explained. So they're not in the spiritual world. They're not even aware. They do not even know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They're so busy with their loving exchanges. And it's kind of like there may be a celebrity and people get really crazy when they see this celebrity. A bunch of people may scream and go for an autograph, and it's not necessarily a friendly exchange. It's one of kind of awe and wonder. And even though they should be thinking that way towards the Supreme Lord, but eventually, if you spend enough time with a celebrity, you can become friend, and don't necessarily want to sit there and take pictures. You know, if you have a friend, you don't necessarily want to sit there and, you know, take secret pictures and things like that, right? Because they're thinking, hey, I'm your friend and you're kind of treating me like a celebrity. And so sometimes it's maybe a higher bhava it's an amazing place to be in somewhat of a friendly relationship with the celebrity that maybe you've been in awe of for so long. And so it's they're so busy in the spiritual world, just they forget that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. And the Srimad Bhagavatam has stated that the boys who play with Krishna are all highly pious souls, and after many, many births, they are able to play with Krishna. Such boys do not know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They take him as a personal friend. So these loving relationships, you know, there's 5 kinds of loving relationships with the Supreme, and so that's very wonderful. That's text 8. Krishna uses the word divyam to describe the divine eyes or vision he will award Arjuna to enable him to behold his universal form. Srila Prabhupada further explains that in his purport to Srimad Bhagavatam 2:124, quote, a pure devotee of the Lord, being unaccustomed to looking into such a mundane, gigantic form of the Lord, requires special vision for the purpose. The Lord, therefore, favored Arjuna with special vision for looking into his Virat Rupa, which is described in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad-gita. Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur poses and then answers the following question. Why should Arjuna, who directly perceives with his own eyes the sweetness of the Supreme Person, be unable to perceive a partial expansion of the Lord and need to receive divine eyes? Some explain this by saying that those most excellent eyes, which perceive the sweetness of the Supreme Person's human pastimes, are exclusive in their scope of perception. They do not perceive the opulence of the Lord's godlike pastimes. After all, a tongue tasting crystal sugar cannot simultaneously experience the taste of unrefined gur or sugarcane, end quote. In his purport, Srila Prabhupada shows that Arjuna's attainment of divine vision was not a sign of Arjuna's advancing, will be able to see the whole universe, including all space and time, past, present, and future, ekashtam, while sitting in one place. Again, as in the purports to texts 2 and 3, Srila Prabhupada explains the actual purpose behind Arjuna's desire. The fact is that the devotee is not concerned with seeing the Vishwarupa, the universal form, but Arjuna wanted to see it to substantiate Krishna's statements so that in the future, people could understand that Krishna not only theoretically or philosophically presented himself as the Supreme, but actually presented himself as such to Arjuna. Arjuna must confirm this because Arjuna is the beginning of the parampara system. Those who are actually interested in understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and who follow in the footsteps of Arjuna should understand that Krishna not only theoretically presented himself as the Supreme, but actually revealed himself as the Supreme. The Lord gave Arjuna the necessary power to see his universal form because he knew that Arjuna did not particularly want to see it, as we've already explained. Until this point, Krishna has only spoken about the universal form. In the next verse, Krishna gives Arjuna Divya Chakshu, the divine eyes that will allow Arjuna to see it. Okay, text 10 through 11. Arjuna saw in that universal form unlimited mouths and unlimited eyes. It was all wondrous. The form was decorated with divine, dazzling ornaments and arrayed in many garbs. He was garlanded gloriously, and there were many scents smeared over his body. All was magnificent, all expanding, unlimited. This was seen by Arjuna. Purport. These two verses indicate that there is no limit to the hands, mouths, legs, etc. of the Lord. These manifestations are distributed throughout the universe and are unlimited. By the grace of the Lord, Arjuna could see them while sitting in one place. That is due to the inconceivable potency of Krishna. The word divya is used 4 times in these 2 verses to describe the extraordinary ornaments, weapons, garlands, and fragrances of the universal form. Srila Prabhupada describes the word aneka, many, in the purport, showing that Arjuna saw unlimited manifestations distributed throughout the universe. Text 13, translation. At the same time, Arjuna could see in the universal form of the Lord the unlimited expansions of the universe situated in one place, although divided into many, many thousands. Purport. The word tatra, there, is very significant. It indicates that both Arjuna and Krishna were sitting on the chariot when Arjuna saw the universal form. Others on the battlefield could not see this form because Krishna gave the vision only to Arjuna. Arjuna could see in the body of Krishna many thousands of universes. As we learn from Vedic scriptures, there are many universes and many planets. Some of them are made of earth, some are made of gold, some are made of jewels, some are very great, some are not so great, etc. Sitting on his chariot, Arjuna could see all these universes, but no one could understand what was going on between Arjuna and Krishna. Text 14. Then, bewildered and astonished, his hair standing on end, Arjuna began to pray with folded hands, offering obeisances to the Supreme Lord. Purport. Once the divine vision is revealed, the relationship between Krishna and Arjuna changes immediately. Before, Krishna and Arjuna had a relationship based on friendship, but here, after the revelation, Arjuna is offering obeisances with great respect, and with folded hands, he is praying to Krishna. He is praising the universal form. Thus, Arjuna's relationship becomes one of wonder rather than friendship. Great devotees see Krishna as the reservoir of all relationships. In the scriptures, there are 12 basic kinds of relationships mentioned, and all of them are present in Krishna. It is said that he is the ocean of all the relationships exchanged between 2 living entities, between the gods, or between the Supreme Lord and his devotees. It is said that Arjuna was inspired by the relationship of wonder, and in that wonder, although he was by nature very sober, calm, and quiet, he became ecstatic. His hair stood up, and he began to offer his obeisances unto the Supreme Lord with folded hands. He was not, of course, afraid. He was affected by the wonders of the Supreme Lord. The immediate context is wonder. His natural loving friendship was overwhelmed by wonder, and thus he reacted in this way. Srila Baladev Vijayabhushana explains that Arjuna, in astonishment, now sees the universal form. Astonishment or wonder is one of the secondary rasas. Impelled by Krishna's universal form, Arjuna now relishes this rasa. And when we're speaking of the universal form, I can't help but think of sometimes of the 3 Vishnus, and Karanana Dakashayi Vishnu, Garbo Dakashayi Vishnu, and Kishore Dakashayi Vishnu. And the second one, Garbo Dakashayi Vishnu, lays down in the Garbo Daka ocean, which is formed from his sweat, basically. And he lays down, and then out of his navel, a lotus is sprouted. And on top of that appears Brahma. And Brahma wonders where he came from. And so he goes down into this stem as far as he can go. But a seed, once fructified, you can no longer really find the seed. So he sat there and he meditated, and over time, he realized Krishna in his heart, and felt Krishna, saw him throughout his whole body, and then Shoradakashayi Vishnu is the super soul in the heart, inside every living entity. And Karanana Dakashayi Vishnu is considered sometimes the first person, or first created person. And there's and sometimes we may not think we're progressing sometimes. And sometimes we will play kind of the blame game. We might blame Krishna, we might blame bhakti itself, or we might blame ourselves. But the blame game doesn't really work. It starts from the wrong foundational thought. We assume we deserve spiritual advancement, and the blame game is our demand for that advancement. Demands come from pride, though, and not the pure love of bhakti, which comes from the foundation of humility, of accepting that we don't necessarily deserve spiritual advancement. But we can beg that even though we're undeserving, we are rewarded some advancement. Like Arjuna in 11.4, if you feel I am qualified, kindly bestow your grace on me. So that's so if we're wanting to make spiritual advancement, the attitude has to be there. There's a verse, there are those who say that they know everything about Krishna, Brahma says, and let them think this way. But for me, I do not like to speak very much on this matter. Your opulences are beyond space and time. He's bewildered. He's the creator. He created so much, and even he is bewildered by Krishna's opulences. What to speak of our attitude of how we should feel. So Arjuna here, although acknowledging the two-armed form is supreme, he requests to see the universal form spoken of in chapter 10. So Lord Sri Krishna first describes it, and then he bestows the vision on Arjuna to see it. Krishna explains his form as time, the destroyer of all the worlds, and requests that Arjuna become his instrument on the battlefield. So time is destroying everything, with every sunset, another day has passed, another day closer to universal destruction, you could say. And so time is just kind of moving everything along. But in the spiritual world, there's not this time factor the way that we experience it. Bhakti yoga, is the only direct method of God realization. It is the approach of pure love, which is poured upon Lord Sri Krishna. There are actually some similarities between bhakti and Christianity, one could say, which gives us a leg up on trying to work with the Christians and form bridges. They both have big aspects of placing all concentration on God, increasing remembrance and communion with the Lord. They may not know it, but it is something like the path of devotion, although not as clearly defined or historically potent. We're trying to take these lower emotions and transmute them into devotion. We're not, and this love is neither binding or selfish. The lower emotions are not suppressed, but are utilized and sublimated. Without love, one cannot approach God. And a big barrier between the individual soul and Lord Sri Krishna is the false ego. A little bit about text 7. Krishna used the word pasya 4 times. and in this, he's emphasizing that Arjuna should see this wonderful universal form never before seen, though once he showed an aspect of it to Duryodhana. In an attempt to avoid the battle of Kurukshetra, Maharaj Yudhisthira sent Krishna to Duryodhana as a messenger of peace. Yeah, we read that. So I remember first finding Krishna consciousness. We all found it in our own ways, but I remember my cousin passed away from a brain injury or brain issue in like 2017, early 2017. And I found out that I didn't know it then, we weren't extremely close, but we always, we grew up together and holiday events and things like that. And I found out after he passed that he was into Buddhism. At the funeral, there was Buddhists there, giving a talk. And I thought, wow, I was just so surprised. I just felt kind of bad that I didn't know that about him, or that somehow we hadn't talked about it, or I didn't know where he was at. So that kind of sent me seeking a little bit. And so I was looking into all these different paths and wanting some spiritual advancement. And then I found, the Indian and the Vedic on YouTube, some wonderful things. And I really enjoyed the singing of the mantras and some of the philosophy, although I couldn't really find much philosophy. And there's a lot of, people talking about Shiva and things like that. And so I was trying to do like little fire rituals and so many things. And I was reading the Bhagavad-gita, but not the correct one. And I was going to visit all 4 temples in Kansas City, so I went to the first one, the Hindu temple. I thought, this is kind of interesting, kind of overwhelming with all those deities up there. And it didn't really feel like a communal fun experience. It felt like, okay, imposter, who's this imposter or something? There wasn't, it was the middle of the day, no one there really. And then the second one, I visited this Vedanta society, and the first time it was like knocked on the door, and it was a Friday, 7 p.m. I was there for a Bhagavad-gita class, and there was only the sage there giving the class. There was no one else attending the class. So it was me on this couch and the sage there. And he said, certain, he said Muni, this word Muni. I said, what is this? Afterwards, I was like, what is this word Muni? And he said, saint or sage. And so that was kind of interesting. And I went back there a couple of times. But then the third temple I wanted to go to was this one. And I had this gig. And for like 6 months, I was trying to make it to the Sunday festival, and the gig was right at the time when it was starting what I thought was a little too early to make it, to do the whole program. And I wanted to do the whole program. And so the first time it was really, because it would be canceled, but it would be like too late to come here. And so the first time it was really canceled early enough, I came right here and I was sitting in the car and I was like, just go in. It was kind of hard the first few times, sometimes to even get out of the car and go in, but go in, and the devotees were so nice. There was this devotee that greeted me, and he said, oh, it's a very spiritual person. And I sat down, and the kirtan, it was just the kirtan leader and the person who greeted me and myself. And I think the tears happened pretty quick. I remember some tears happening. And then I heard Maharaj Dhanavir Goswami's class, and more tears were coming, especially the first, weeks. And it was a really amazing experience. And I just felt like, wow, I've really found a community that I wanted, because I would see these people on YouTube, these people in India that had like an ashram, and they had, there was a center, a place for people to live and actually grow spiritually. And this was the first place I found that I said, wow, people are actually living here and devoting themselves to Krishna, and you can actually be a part of a community. And the kirtan, back and forth singing, one of the beauties of kirtan is that the praises never have to stop. As soon as the leader stops, the response is happening. So there's almost not even a split second where the voices aren't being sounded, and they can even overlap sometimes a little nicely, but it's really wonderful. And there's just so many wonderful things about it. I just kept coming back, Sunday after Sunday. I met some great people, and they helped me a lot. And I just never missed a Sunday. And except for one time, on a family trip or something, I would go to Atlanta or something, and then I'd have a chance to visit a new temple. So I visited like the Atlanta temple and the Portland temple and the Los Angeles temple and a couple other ones. And so I never made it to that fourth temple. I never made it to that fourth temple because I felt no need to check it out. I had been seeking, but I had found everything that I was looking for and so much more. There's so much philosophy and so many great books. It's simplified for us, but if we want the complexity, we can also go into more complexity. But the one God really resonated with me, that there's one God in the center, and that we can all put him in the center. And all of a sudden things became clear, because in music, a lot of times, I play jazz, and a lot of times I think the musicians, although they're very talented, I don't think they know what's in the center. Is the musician in the center? Is the audience in the center? Are we playing for the band? Are we playing for the audience? Are we playing for ourselves? But it became so simple. Just put Krishna in the center, play for him. If we could all do that, it's very nice. And then we avoid all these pitfalls of the false ego of, climbing and scratching and trying to elevate ourselves compared to the next person, or to try to, eke out some respect or some fame. It all just felt so silly all of a sudden. And, I'd read the Bhagavad-gita, and that had helped me. But then I found the Bhagavad-gita as it is, of course. And so the path was clear all of a sudden. There was no confusion, and there was a perfect path in front of me. So I just haven't found anything like it, and I never will again. So it's really perfect science. And so was there, let me see if I have anything, last notes here. It's supposed to be 4 pages. Okay, lost a page somewhere. All right, any questions or comments today from anyone? Hare Krishna, Jaya, Keshava, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. My question is, does one need to be, so we hear in the second chapter, text 7, that Arjuna surrendered to Krishna, like, please instruct me. And then we hear in chapter 4 that one needs to approach spiritual master. And now we hear that Arjuna was awarded this vision by Krishna. His eyes were anointed with the oil of love. I was thinking of that verse in the Brahma Samhita. So does one need to be surrendered, or you could say having taken shelter of a spiritual master to see Krishna, or something else? I was wondering, is seeing Krishna dependent on anything?
Yeah, I would say that spiritual master is that key that can unlock the door for us, because he's guiding us. He's taking very special care and attention, even if you may not be directly associating in person all of the time with spiritual master, but spiritual master is guiding you from afar. And don't forget that he's always right there with you, and he's guiding you from afar, and he's always right there. And so, yes, just like, to meet, if you're trying to go meet a CEO, you have to go to the waiting room, or you have to go talk to the secretary or the administrators of the CEO, and they can open up the door and get you that meeting with the CEO. And the spiritual master is very kind and humble and selfless, and really cares a lot about his students and their well-being. And so to have, just like a child, a little baby has to have a mother, a father to help, someone to help, this helpless being. It can't even turn over, onto its stomach or back. And so has to have someone there just to guide and let them know it's going okay. The baby tries to walk for the first times, and the parent says, just laughs and says, it's okay, keep trying, keep going, and is never going to give up on the child. And that's a really wonderful thing. And we can't just like leapfrog. We could read all the books, or do so many things, but having the spiritual master is highly recommended. Tadviti pranipatena. Just try to learn the truth by approaching the spiritual master. And it's wonderful that when you can find one. And Srila Prabhupada is the spiritual master for all of ISKCON, and he's the Shiksha Guru for all of ISKCON. And he's guiding us through his books and through his words and through his teachings. And we're so close to Prabhupada, we're just a generation or two removed, which is so neat from him being personally here on the planet. And there will be so many generations to come, for hundreds and thousands of years, they'll be looking at Srila Prabhupada like this. So we're so lucky to be so close to those times, and to get to know some of his direct disciples is very wonderful. Anyone else? Questions, comments, follow-ups? Hare Krishna. We've got Jagannath Prabhu.
So, me and Bhakti Damodar were talking about this a little bit on the car ride back here. But like, we're kind of confused because we don't know. We're going out every day on books, and for the most part, people find us out, and we get kicked out of the place that that we end up going to. And we really want to preach, but then again, there's this obstacle of other people. And so basically my question is like, if it gets to the point where we have to get arrested, like, should we keep on preaching? I don't know. Should we risk getting into more trouble and then maybe causing a scene for the movement? Or is it good to actually, fight for something like this? Fight for our movement, What is the right, what should we do?
That's nice. Yeah. Yeah. Krishna is guiding you all and guiding us and giving us the intelligence to make it through what seem to be sticky situations. And we can keep pivoting, evil or Maya is constantly learning our tricks and then trying to stop us in our tracks. But Krishna is helping us always be one step ahead, like those, cartoons, Looney Tunes, the Roadrunner is always step ahead of the coyote. But evil always trying to figure out your tricks and what you're up to, and using your intelligence to do it right, to learn how to read people and know when to stop and know when to butt heads and know when not to butt heads. Because sometimes when we're butting heads with someone or a karmi, we know it's just not going to work out good. So we can keep pivoting and try different techniques, and we can think about new exciting ways to distribute books. It can also be, we can stay in one place for 30 minutes or an hour, but we can also move around. We can also sometimes drive around in the car and see a person walking, and just like a drive-by, book distribution. Just pull over and just, hey, and they might think, wow, this person stopped their car just for me. Or we'll think of different places. So we're learning the places to go, where not to go. And we don't take it personally if they kick us out, but we don't really want to get in trouble. We don't want to cause anyone any distress. We're really just trying to help them. So if they don't want our help, that's okay. And we'll always try to be like one step ahead. But that's very nice. Magadari Prabhu, did you have anything, or? You're okay? Okay. Anyone else have any thoughts on that particular issue? All right. Thank you all. Bhagavad-gita as it is. Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.